Morning, everybody.
Morning.
How are you?
Oh, a little better than yesterday.
Yeah, I saw your email. You didn't show it.
My this time of year sinus infection grabs me about every day. So
Yeah. Well, hopefully it's like yesterday was almost 80 degrees and it's 38 right now. I just love it.
horrible. We can't be consistent anymore. You're up. You're sideways. AP.
Hey, AP, you're sideways. You look good.
Good morning,
Hey.
Erica. Good morning, Charlie.
Morning.
Good morning. See, we've got somebody on iPhone. Do you want to announce yourself? I try to keep track of who's attending, so for questions. Good morning, Rick. Sheena, thank you. I wondered if that wasn't you.
All
Morning,
right.
Kathy.
Sorry, go ahead.
Nope, I was just announcing. That's it. We're ready.
Okay. Well, hopefully everybody is doing well this morning. Just a few quick updates from last week. Coincidentally enough, right after we got off the phone last week, or right after we got off the Zoom call here last week, we had heard back from CenturyLink regarding the duck bank issue that we were dealing with. So they were able to get out there last Thursday and Friday and get that taken care of. So we have now moved on with our storm sewer run on Salem, and we're moving ahead on that. I believe the what would be the eastern portion of Salem has all been completed as of last night. So we've got that portion of storm sewer run done, minus probably just a few things. I think they've got to pour collars yet on the intakes and everything, if I'm right, Reese, on that. So that's been good. Glad we got that taken care of, because that was really starting to concern me a little bit on holding time up on this project, but we've got that done and taken care of so we can move forward. We did remove pavement last week on the Salem and Howard intersection. That was kind of a backup plan, essentially, to if we couldn't get the storm sewer run done, we could start on that one. But now that that's done, I believe they're going to try to get that storm sewer done yet this week, moving from that intersection, stubbing in to the north and then finishing to the east as well. We have removed all the streetlights along Howard in anticipation that we will start, I believe, tearing out pavement on Howard later this week or early next week, getting that started so we can then get utility work on Howard done. Just so everybody's aware, as far as utility work on Howard, the only thing we are doing is storm sewer on that, as everybody's water main is in the alley on that portion. The water services on the north side of Salem have all been completed. Rick, again, apologize for on the rocks. We did have a issue where we connected a wrong service line on that, so they were without water overnight one night, but we did get that fixed on Thursday morning, so I think everything is good there. Then we will start tapping in some new water main services on the south side of Salem. There will not be any disruptions from our project on that. So just so everybody has some background, currently there is a water main behind the buildings on the south side of Salem where they get their service, and IMU's plan in the future would be to abandon that main and have everybody in these buildings get service off the front portion. So we are making taps onto the water line and running water services into those buildings. And then at some point, IMU, I believe, is going to be working with a plumber in each one of those buildings to get the water services transferred over. But that will not be done as part of this project. And that's something that IMU is going to be working on. Lastly, again, just kudos to the crew that is out there. They have worked through some pretty crappy weather and some pretty inconsistent weather. I know there was a few times last week where it was raining and snowing and they were out there moving forward on the project. So if anybody ever sees them out there, just give them their appreciation. Again, I know this is not convenient for anybody who's affected right now, but still we're doing what we can to keep this moving along so we can limit the disruption as much as we can. So on that, things that are going to be finishing up this week, there is a water main that is currently connected to the fire hydrant that is over by On the Rocks. They are looking to remove that fire hydrant and that service up to that fire hydrant tomorrow. Because the age of our water lines, there is a valve that is located on that water line that is not operating properly. So what they will have to do to remove that hydrant is they're going to have to shut down the water main that services the businesses on Howard for a short period of time tomorrow morning, so we can get that abandoned and capped off. So if it was a newer water system and properly functioning, we'd just be able to shut a valve off at one point and there would be no disruptions. But again, we're dealing with water mains and valves that are over 100 years old, and sometimes they're all not going to work. So we did find out that there was an issue with one valve on that, so we're going to have to shut that down. But Reese, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that shutdown should be very minimal, maybe less than an hour even.
Potentially. We've just been telling people, yeah, hour, 2 hours, roughly. That's all dependent on how quickly it can get done, and it's underground right now, and they won't be digging on it till first thing Thursday morning. So it may fluctuate, but we'll do our best to let everybody know if it changes.
Okay, thank you. And then that intersection there at Salem and First, which is down to one lane right now because we had to get into that intersection a little bit for that water main connection. They are going to potentially be pouring that back this week, hopefully getting that opened the early part of or the late part of this week, early part of next week. So be looking for that. Then next week we are going to continue, as I mentioned, with utilities on Howard. The yard hydrant construction will take place in that intersection as well. When we say yard hydrants, I just want to clarify on that. What we are doing as part of this project is we are essentially putting water spigots into every corner of every intersection. And this is going to help our Parks Department when it comes to watering all the plantings during the spring, summer, and fall months, because currently now, if you've ever noticed, they have a water tender truck that they fill up, bring to the square and water all the plants. But with the new plantings that we have, we kind of identified that they'd probably need to make 3 or 4 trips to get that thing filled up. So rather than doing that and just to try to grab some efficiency in that process, we are putting water, essentially water hose bibs on every intersection so they can just kind of get a hose, hook it up, turn that water on and get everything planted. And then we are also, when you say, Reese, I'm looking at your notes here, the potentially installing conduit on Salem, that's the electrical conduit for all the street lights, and right?
Yep. So the next couple of weeks, just depending on when they can get them scheduled, and their electric subcontractor will come in and start on the new street light conduit on Salem.
Yep. Thank you. So again, I mentioned we'll get the utilities in that Salem and Howard intersection completed. We'll get these last water services completed, hopefully all of this week. And then starting here in the next couple of weeks, I think is when we get to a point where we're essentially putting the road back together. You'll start seeing kind of some rock base go down on that. They'll start digging down for the pavers. We've got about 2 or 3 feet that we've got to get down for those pavers just to put the rock beds in. And then slowly but surely, we'll start getting everything on Salem put back together here in the next couple of weeks. So not saying that it's going to be done in the next couple of weeks, but again, you'll just start seeing everything get put back together here in the next couple of weeks. So with that, I think that's the only updates we have for this week. So would be happy to answer any questions from the group, and Reese, Brenda, and AP, if there's anything I missed, please clarify.
No, the only other thing would be that they can expect the Justice Center, they're going to continue to move in furniture on that project. There shouldn't be any road disruptions, or if it is, it'll just be very minor.
The other thing was the sidewalks. Are we looking at May when the sidewalks will begin? Is that correct, Reese?
Yep, that's what we're thinking. Along with that, though, I should mention, with these services going on the south side of Salem, these new ones, there won't be any water disruptions necessarily quite yet, but there will be some sidewalk disruptions. So it might might get pinched off right there in a couple places as that's happening. But then as soon as they get it, I mean, they'll be able to put it back together and then put a temporary surface there to keep walking traffic there.
We do have a question in the chat. What about the sidewalk in front of the parking lot? So that's the part on Salem that they'd start with first when they start. Once they get the streets, and if I understand this right, there's a process. It's the streets, the curbs, then the sidewalk, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's
And
the
that
plan.
one, yeah, Reese, and that portion of sidewalk's probably going to be the one we hit right away to get that one in, just because it is open right now and there won't be any disruptions that come with that. So I think that'll probably be the first one that we'll hit here in the next couple of weeks, as well as getting the crosswalks in that intersection put back together.
Yep. I don't know if you mentioned it before, but that intersection I would say in the next week, they'll be putting those panels back together slowly, and like the crosswalk, like you said. And so so it won't be one way anymore. So both lanes of traffic, north and south, will be through on First in the next weekish. Rain dependent and cold weather dependent.
Well, hopefully we're over the cold weather. Rain's not. Just looking at the forecast, it doesn't look too bad, but
So as a
At a July 1st. Sorry.
sorry, go ahead.
Are we still looking at July? I've had a few people ask. I just want to clarify. Is that still July 1 for the Justice Center?
yes. Justice Center is having an open house on June 29th at 1 o'clock. And then they're anticipating kind of move in on July 1. I believe July 1 is a Friday. So I wouldn't be surprised to see, I'm looking at my calendar really quick. Yeah, July 1's on a Friday. I wouldn't be surprised to see that move maybe until that first week in July, so July 5th. But we'll, for now, I would just tell everybody July 1 is still their date.
I think that's what Jamie told me yesterday. July 1 is still their target.
Mhm. And that's our target as well, still on
Yep.
this phase that we are in. I think we can just, as long as we don't get a monsoon of weather, we're pretty confident. You know, Salem's going to get done before Howard, so that should be open even before that date. But our hope is that we can have the 2 current blocks that are closed done by July 1, and then we're kind of swinging around and starting to phase in Ashland. But we'll keep everybody up to date on that. So far, we haven't had any major delays. That CenturyLink issue we discussed last week was probably the biggest delay we've had so far, but we were still able to get work done while dealing with that by moving some people around. So. And Reese, I don't know. I haven't looked outside if anybody's aware. Rain last night, I don't think stopped us too much. I know I've seen a little bit of activity out there. So
I'll be around a little bit, but it might be a slow day. Still on track with things we talked about in the next week's time.
Yeah.
I guess I
Maybe-
just, oh,
All
sorry.
right, Reese, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna reinforce that that alleyway between Salem and Ashland, say basically businesses that face Howard there. That water disruption will be tomorrow morning, mid-morning. And then there'll be those sidewalk disruptions like we're talking on the south side of Salem intermittently as they're finishing up the water stuff. And then just talking with the contractor this morning, he's thinking, they're thinking Monday, Tuesday, they'll be breaking the street pavement on Howard out. But I'll do my best to go around and talk to everybody individually.
And AP, I think you were going to say something before. I didn't know if you got that.
Yeah, so I think you mentioned about the sidewalks is going to begin in May. The other thing I just want to give a heads up is the portion on that's already built. The plantings will begin sometime in May or June. Just a heads up to all business owners there to see some activity for plantings in the next few months. So.
Yes, I forgot to say that too.
Yeah, thank you. I think we were kind of targeting, was that May 16th, right? Getting that started.
Yep, mid-May, I would say you'll be seeing some plant startup or start being planted, I guess. Hopefully get some color to that phase one.
Anything else?
I'm looking, I don't see any other, comments in chat. So anyone who'd like to take themselves off mute for a moment, if you have a question, that'd be a great time. Wow, really quiet group this morning.
The other thing really quick, just to note, and I know, so next Wednesday morning, we have the Mayor's Youth Council who's going to be doing a tour of the project, kind of looking at phase one and some existing construction that's going on right now. That's supposed to start at 7 o'clock in the morning next Wednesday. I'm not sure how long it will take, but I'm curious with this group if we could possibly push this meeting back to 9 o'clock in the morning next week, just to provide us a little bit of buffer to make sure we're not all rushing around really quick to get on this call. So if anybody's got an issue with that, let me know. Otherwise, I think we might just plan on pushing it back to 9 o'clock next week.
I'm looking at chat really carefully here.
Yep, that sounds good.
We will have to send out a new, just for this Wednesday, we'll adjust the meeting invitation on your calendars to 9 a.m. then. Make sure you remember. Make sure I remember. Okay.
All right, well, as usual, if there is anything that pops up between now and next Wednesday, feel free to reach out to Reese, Brenda, AP, Brian Dozer as well, or anybody. Just let us know if you have any concerns, questions, or comments. But other than that, I think we'll plan on seeing everybody next Wednesday.
Have a good day, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
See you, Charlie.
See you guys.
Thanks.